I'll ask another question. And congratulations on your first year in office. We do know that you were appointed in August also of last year, and part of the reason you're there, among other things, of course, are qualifications, but also because your predecessor was removed from office. And said predecessor was just interviewed the other day, saying that his impeachment, removal from as Chief Justice, was an assault on the judiciary, on the Supreme Court, on the independence of the court. May I ask what, for you, is the effect of the impeachment trial last year on the judiciary in general and the Supreme Court in particular? And would you say that, as you said earlier, this is the spring cleaning in a 112-year institution, or that the 112-year institution badly needs?
You can judge, or you can sense the opinion that I have had on the impeachment. In response to the question of whether I volunteered to testify as being called upon by members of the impeachment prosecution team, and even by some impeachment judges themselves. What is all important for me is that I must not involve myself in a political process that will weaken the institution of the judiciary. Because we may have transient political events happening, but the only way that our democracy can be stable, regardless of whether we will have another people power movement or not, and regardless of how many people will march again on the streets, if I stick to the solid rock that the judiciary must be. So, what has been the impact of the impeachment on the judiciary? I think you could objectively see that the Supreme Court respected the process. I don't think at any one time you could say that the Supreme Court disrespected the process. The impact on me personally of the impeachment is, as history would go, I never thought I would be the replacement, but I am here. But the impact on me also of the impeachment is the deep realization that everyone can at any time be made to render an account. And I cannot take anything for granted. That's why when I do things, even in the privacy of my chambers, I imagine that the whole world is watching me, so that I can render an account of my actuations and my decisions at any time. That is the clear message to me of the impeachment trial.
And just as a follow-up question, again, on your first year in office, you know, when you were appointed, there was a trend, and people learned that you're going to be there for 18 years, which is very mind-boggling to a lot of people. There was a trending topic on Twitter that says, hashtag CJ pa si Sereno, and everybody just added, you know, like, gumraduate na ako sa college, CJ pa si Sereno, nakarating na tayo sa Mars, CJ pa si Sereno, and all that. Alluding to the fact that you'll be there for quite a long time. Do you see yourself staying on for 18 years? And what do you think would be your best legacy after you end your term?
Do I see myself? I cannot predict the future. So what I can assure you, however, is I'm not going to resign simply because I made an oath. And that oath requires me to faithfully discharge my duties to the best of my ability until objective conditions prevent me from discharging that, as in the case of an illness that may prove fatal or not, when I need to really live. Now, referring back to the discussion that I had with the Chief Justice of Singapore, he's only 51. And he was appointed at the age of 50, and he will stay in office until the age of 65, renewable for another 5 years. And even perhaps even after 5 years, for circumstances that the Prime Minister may decide require him to stay there. So I am not really too much of an international oddity. You have the Chief Justices of the Supreme Court serving way, way past into their 80s. The Chief Justice of Singapore who will serve at the very least for 15 years. Now, the advantage of a long term is that I'm able to dig into the problems in a deeper way. Assume, for example, that I had only a few years in office. I cannot do the very detailed diagnostics that I'm doing right now because I won't have the luxury of time. I will be tempted to think of legacies and perhaps even of retirement ceremonies. But to think of the hard questions and to excavate so that the sores are exposed and the ills examined. A short-term Chief Justice might be afraid of doing that. I'm not afraid of doing that. I'm not even afraid of having conversations with people, including the public, on the difficulties that we are facing. The mindset of a short-term Chief Justice will be very different. Now, as to what my legacy will be, I just want to do my job well. I just want to do what is right. And I think it will be the job of historians and analysts like you to tell me what my legacy has been when I leave.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Linda. The next one to ask a question will be Attorney J.J. Atienza of PTV4.
If it pleases the Honorable Chief Justice,
Attorney.
I would just like to thank you for this opportunity and for mere mortal lawyers like us. Man, I'm great. No, really, Chief Justice, this is a very, very once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be able to ask the Chief Justice herself of questions that are dear to our hearts. So I would be asking you 2 questions and maybe insert little ones, paragraphs A or something. So the first question would be, with the